What is going on, 49er faithful? Welcome back to another 49er media live stream. And I am here joined by Wolfie. I know we've done a stream quite a while back, but glad to have Wolfie on the show. We're hopefully planning to do this every week, probably around this time. So looking forward to it.
No doubt, man. I'm happy to be here, man. I'm glad we can collab, man. First ever collab, dude. It's dope. I appreciate it. Last time I was on here was awesome. Had a good time. So why not? You know what I mean?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
all right.
But yeah, we're going to be talking about kind of the coaching cycle here with the 49ers regarding their offensive coordinator, special teams, and defensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator one was kind of weird because,
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan's like, oh, we're going to be promoting Clay Kubiak as the OC, even though Kyle Shanahan's going to still call the plays. And then there was a report a few days later coming out saying, hold up, Niners are breaking the rules. They've got to do an interview. So
Yeah.
then, they end up interviewing Iowa State's, I believe, passing game coordinator. What was his name again? Pauline. I know that's what it was. Noah Pauley.
Noah
So
Pauly
he
of Ohio State.
Iowa State passing game and wide receiver coach. I don't know how you feel about this, but there's the Ronnie rule. How do you feel about that? Do you think
Uh,
anything of it?
I feel like it's just him going through the hoops. I don't know what Dexter. Um, I think it's just him going through the hoops of what he has to do, realizing what he said with Clay Kubiak, and um, I don't think it's serious. I think that they're still going to try and promote Clay Kubiak to offensive coordinator because realistically, someone who's going to want to take that job is actually going to want to be involved with the offensive coordinator situation. And I think Kyle still wants majority of control of that, but I think he is going to allow Clay to kind of come in and help out with the offense a little bit, kind of what he said in that press conference. But I do think that this is just um, like nonsense, I guess, in the sense of like him just doing it because he has to, so he doesn't get in trouble or get fined or anything. What my biggest concern is like if he ends up hiring Clay anyway, will there be like some sort of like repercussion for that? Because NFL will investigate like was he actually serious with this, like with these interviews and stuff, etc. It just depends upon if they do the bare minimum. It'll kind of tell you based on that. Like if they end up just doing just the Rooney Rule and then having to interview 3 people or something like that for the job. Like if they do the bare minimum, you could tell that like Clay Kubiak is just going to get the job regardless, and they're just jumping through the hoops. And I'm not surprised. Kyle, once he's like sold on a coach, he does seem like the kind of person that's like, I want that guy, so that guy's going to be the person. And again, like I said, I don't think. How do I put this? I don't think people are. I don't think an offensive coordinator or a possible new offensive coordinator would want to come in and then be like, well, I'll do the bare minimum and I get like no actual control and stuff. I don't think anybody would actually want to come into that kind of situation as offensive coordinator. So, yeah, because we all know Kyle wants his offense and controls offense. So, but that's not to say that he won't be interested in like changing his offense. I don't mean to go off a little bit, but like, he wants to be the main guy. So, if I'm Ohio State guy, I don't know if I even want to take that job. To be honest, I'd probably do the interview, but just to put my name out there. But on his end, I probably wouldn't even take it. Just seriously. So
I think it is because of the Ronnie rule. They have to interview a person that is basically part of considered in the minorities. That's what I just think it is. I kind of recently on Twitter said this, and I know you're not on Twitter, but I was like, this is I think how the interview process went. What's up? What how you doing? Happy New Year. What's your thoughts on Brock Purdy? Then he gives his answer about Brock Purdy, and he's like,
yeah,
thanks for interviewing, good luck. That's kind of what I jokingly feel like the interview was kind of like. And maybe this guy's just I don't even know if he's gonna get an NFL job. Maybe he's just kind of trying to get his feet wet, kind of just see how an interview goes with an NFL team. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I don't see this being that serious. I think the Niners probably did also take it seriously just because, like you said, the NFL would probably investigate it. And the Niners already lost a draft pick with, the weird issue that they had when, dealing with the cap that they accident, like I think
Yeah, there was like some
her
sort of issue they had with some. Like I thought this would be the first time they've gotten in trouble. I think
yeah.
with breaking some sort of rule I've heard about. I forgot what that was. I forgot exactly what that was, but I think you're right about that.
Yeah, so
Um,
it's just like I think that you know, they're gonna take this seriously still in all seriousness. Um, but at the end of the day, I still think Kubiak gets the job unless
yeah,
they start interviewing actually more people and are like, okay, maybe we should be a little bit more open,
yeah,
to this. But the thing is, all those people that are interviewing know that they're not going to be calling the plays. So how much are they also willing to, actually
yeah,
get the offensive coordinator role when they're not really going to be the OC and just game planning like Clay Kubiak has been. So,
yeah.
yeah.
What my own question is though, like, what kind of pick would they end up losing if they
Mm,
were to get in trouble? Like, what kind of pick is that kind of worth? Is it like a third round, fourth round? I don't think so. I think it'd be like a no nonsense. I'm not saying a draft pick is nonsense, okay,
mhm.
but like it would have to be like a seventh or sixth round pick they would lose. Luckily, they have 9 picks in this upcoming draft, maybe a comp pick coming their way where they'll have 10, so they can actually spare it. I'm not saying that they
Yeah.
should, but like I think the NFL, if they were to punish the 49ers, I don't think it would be like a third or fourth round draft pick for something like this, especially if in the end they end up doing the interviews and actually going through the processes regardless in the end. If they just didn't do it though, I could see that being a lot higher of a situation, a lot higher of a problem. But like we just said, like, the NFL is going to investigate it. Like, was this really are these real interviews? Are you actually trying? Are
Mhm.
you at least pretending to put in that kind of effort to show that you actually tried? Um, but I have heard that the Ohio State's offense is actually pretty good,
Or
but I
Iowa
don't
State.
think
Yeah.
you would Iowa State, sorry, but I don't think you would take the passing game coordinator like you would take the offensive coordinator, wouldn't you? And put if you were serious and put him in the offensive coordinator job, wouldn't you do that? You wouldn't just take
Yeah.
some assistant from
Yeah.
college. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of
I don't
weird.
know. I
Yeah,
just think again, it's kind of the running one. I just looked it up. Yeah, it was a fifth round pick. So it was one of those money round picks. I'm like, if it was a
that could have
third
been a
round pick,
steal.
I'd be like, I'm okay with that because Dominic Pooney's been by far our best third round pick most
Oh,
recently.
without a
So
doubt, man. Future All Pro, 110%,
yeah.
man. So this draft, they killed it. They killed it. This
Hmm.
draft, I think only like what I'm not trying to go off subject here, but like one player, I think was just Kingston. Was Kingston in this draft? I think it was like the
Yeah,
only
and that
one that
was the
didn't make
guy
the
that they
team.
ended up like cutting from USC, and then they were like, "Oh, nobody's gonna pick him up," and then yet the Panthers do because they were first on the
Panthers.
waiver wire too. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's get now into the special teams coordinator. So thank gosh Brian Snyder is gone. I think no one should be surprised here. Um, if you thought he would be here, I don't know what you were thinking. This special teams was just atrocious, man. And I honestly kind of like the names that they've already interviewed. But let me just hear
Yeah.
your thoughts about uh, getting rid of Snyder.
I actually think they're taking this seriously. I don't think it's just some no nonsense. I plan on giving it to Nick Sorensen. So let's just go through the motions, kind of type deal. I actually do enjoy a lot of these special. I like Chris Banjo. He has 10 years of NFL experience from 13 to 22. He was a special teamer himself, so he has that
Mhm.
experience. He joined the Broncos at 23 and 24, and the Broncos currently have the fourth adjusted efficiency, second in punt returns, and fifth in field goals and extra points. And we all know how important that is. so,
Yeah.
uh, and it does sound like Kyle Shanahan does give, and from what I'm sure we've all gathered, is that Kyle Shanahan tends to give the special teams coach a lot of freedom. I don't know if it's just because Brian Schneider had that experience as a special teamer, so where it's like, hey, just let him pick the kicker. But from what I heard, Brian Schneider is the one that ended up picking um, Jake Moody. So if that's a signal of anything, if the special teams coach has that much of a say in the kicking department,
Mhm.
I really do hope that this guy knows what he's doing. I really do hope that he has experience as a special teamer, so he knows what it feels like to be on that field. I do like that a lot from Chris Banjo,
Yeah.
and also that from the Broncos standpoint, he can see how it's getting done. When you are under somebody who knows how to get it done, man, you learn, you get those tendencies, and you actually develop those. Especially considering he doesn't have like a bad, you know, year here and a bad year here, but just a good year one here. It's like he's truly being built from, like, we got him from the start, right? We got him from his Chris Banjo would be getting him from his start of coaching from 23 to 24. So it's kind of like he's being molded right now. So it'd be fresh. It'd be a fresh coordinator. It would be a fresh face. It wouldn't be like Nick Sorensen, for example, is terrible in Jacksonville. It wouldn't be some crazy vet from 2008 who's, like I said, been on and off as a special teams coordinator, can't get it done. I do like Chris Banjo a lot from the Denver Broncos for that reason.
Yeah.
Jet Modkins, though,
Yeah, I guess
I
we'll get into him a little bit afterwards.
will give him a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, but
Um,
I guess what I was gonna say real quick is I think they are taking this serious, and it's not just about the Ronnie Rule, because this guy, I've been making videos about this, and so with Banjo, the Broncos were top 10 in punt return average, kickoff return average, and then punt return average against, and kickoff return against average, and Marvin Mims, who's a very young receiver, I think only in his second or third season, right? Already an all pro on special teams. Now,
oh, I didn't know
my
that.
caveat for both of these guys is, and I said this in my videos, how much actual special teams help did these guys actually help with? And what exactly were their roles on special teams? Because they were assistants. And the thing is, they had to interview assistants because otherwise it'd be a lateral move, right? If
Yeah.
they were to go out and get one of these other guys that are special team coordinators right now. So that's my only kind of concern. But I do think they are taking this serious, and I'm glad they're looking at coaches at least, or teams that had a really good special teams. But go ahead and talk about the next guy.
Jet Mawkins, honestly, from the Lions, I do like that because the Lions are pretty phenomenal. I believe they're the number one special
Yep,
teams. I could be wrong about that, but
correct.
they're really good. He has 3 years of experience with the Lions, so he has picking up those tendencies from the special teams coordinator, Dave Flip. Sorry, I got notes here. For 3 years, he's got that experience. I know that he knows the fake punts. I think they're like 8 for 10 up till 2023. I don't know about this previous year, but like for the Detroit Lions, they they use everything possible in their arsenal of special teams, right? They don't just, they actually use fake punts. They actually use stunts. And it does seem like they are the best in the business when it comes to this new kickoff rule. And there's no better way to start off that for something that's so unknown, because this new kickoff rule is different. It changes the game entirely in the sense of, like, it's supposed to be like a run play.
Mhm.
And if you want to, one of the best things to do is to pick apart from the best of the best, and that would be the Lions in this case with Jet Modkins. Um, I'm a big fan of his, and I would easily take him and be completely happy with that. It's kind of coming back what you said, like, we're taking this completely seriously. And it does seem like they're taking special teams a lot more seriously than the DC position, but it sounds like they have plans there already. But special teams, like you said, it's kind of like they're not doing lateral moves of, like, kind of what I said earlier. They're not just taking some old special teams coordinator, even though they're like the next guy we're talking about, Chris Tabor, has that experience. I understand that part. But it does seem, for the most part, between these two guys we just talked about, they are fresh and new, and they actually could bring something new to this team that we've really been dying for. We don't want. I know a few fans I've talked to, especially in live streams, saying, like, we don't want some lateral move, like you said. We want a fresh face. We want someone who can bring something new, especially to this new kickoff rule. So I'm a big fan of Jet Mawkins and Chris Banjo, not to backtrack, but I feel like they both could bring something to the table that's new. And like I said, for the 100th time, this new kickoff rule changes everything. So take from the best of the best and go from there. because it does. I understand that Chris Tabor has that experience, and I don't mean to jump from it, but it's like you don't know what he is with these new kickoff rules. Because I don't know how well
Mm.
he did. Because I don't know if he was a special teams coordinator this year or not. Was he, Chris
No,
Tabor?
so we'll kind of get into him, but real
So
quick, I think
yeah,
just based off what you were saying is my also concern is how are other teams gonna adjust because this is now be the second year with the new kickoff rule. Um, So, like,
isn't
how
it?
do they kind of adjust as coaches based on what other, teams are doing adjust wise? Um, but yeah, I like that they're shooting for the moon, shooting for the sky, going after against assistants, but going after guys who were part of a top 10 special teams unit. So I like that they're taking that seriously. Um, but yeah, Chris Tabor, the next guy, which is the latest one that we heard about today, I'm actually not as big of a fan just because to me, he's old school. He hasn't coached for a
Yeah.
while, I believe. And that's my thing is how is he gonna kind of convert to the new special teams rule?
Mm.
I know he also was with the Cleveland Browns as well. Um, but
He's yeah.
I'm
Go ahead.
glad they got to do their interviews and do the due diligence, and I'll take that at least that they're actually doing their due diligence, and you know we'll get to another kind of coordinator position later, but
Yeah.
that's why I'm kind of keeping it as the last thing because I know we'll have a long conversation about defensive coordinator. But yeah,
Yes. I. It's kind of special teams is kind of hard because it's really usually special teams coordinators are either like former defensive coordinators that didn't work out, or it's either an unknown person. While defensive coordinators, you kind of get a little more, you're more familiar with them. They're a lot more household names, etc. While special teams coordinators tend to be like nobody's like assistant coaches or somebody
mhm,
from college, so you don't really get familiar. So it's really hard to kind of really study special teams coordinators. But I gotta say, Chris Tabor, I do like what because he is responsible for some Hall of Fame. I won't say Hall of Fame
mm,
punt returns. There's one, Devin Hester, I believe he's responsible for him in that.
mm,
With the Chicago Bears, he's responsible for Cordell Patterson being a special teams ace, kickoff returns, punt returns, and there's another one I can't think on top of my head, but he's responsible for 3 solid punt return players. So he does have some sort of ability to teach these players how to kick off return, how to actually take it. But it kind of comes back to it again with this new kickoff rule where you don't know how well he's going to be able to handle that. Like if this was the previous way of doing it, like if this was the previous old way of doing kickoff, no punts are still the same, but kickoffs are kind of really important. I would be a lot more excited about Chris Tabor, but I feel like with this new fresh kickoff return, we got to have a new fresh face and kind of build people from our
mm,
own, and also kind of really allows us to do the Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans thing where we build that person ourselves. I understand that the Lions are, they're building him up as an assistant and the Broncos are building their assistant up, but I like the fact that we get to take him and groom him as a special teams coach and truly kind of build him up just like we did as with like Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans, because from what I've seen, we do a really good job of that. And I understand that doesn't look very good with Nick Sorensen, but Nick Sorensen has a lot of experience already, and he just wasn't very good as defensive coordinator for the first time because he was a special teamer. He's been promoted. He's had high profile jobs in that sense. So yeah, I think we do a pretty good job of grooming coaches, and I just think this previous one and Brian Schneider is not a coach that we groomed. He's a really long
yeah.
time special teams coordinator for
He's been
Seattle. So
friends with Kyle and things like that, and maybe it was like, okay, we've kind of had at least with the defensive coordinator side some, you know, good experiences and stuff like that. But I
yeah,
think okay, so I take this back. He has actually coached recently. He was the interim head coach in 2023 with the Carolina Panthers and then been special teams like basically the rest of his career as an assistant, even like assistant special teams coach. So he's been
what
coaching
was he in
special teams.
24? I didn't see anything in
Yeah, so
24.
he didn't coach in 2024. That's the one thing.
It's a
And
bad sign.
again, I don't know why, but it's just like, okay. I'm sure if he's interested though, he would be paying attention at least, I would think,
Yeah,
to this, which also, I did see this from David Lombardi that he did overlap with Kyle Shanahan in Cleveland, and oh man, one of those other Kyle Shanahan and him are friends. I'm like,
Oh,
sometimes
that's a bad sign.
you need
Yeah,
to
that's
go away
usually
from your friends sometimes. I get it.
make some new friends, Kyle.
I get it. You want to work with people you've worked well with, but the thing is, in the workforce, you're gonna work with people you may not like.
Yeah.
I think I would prefer kind of these younger coaches, younger options. But again, I'm kind of glad that they're looking. I'm interested to see if they do end up,
they're
interviewing
not
anybody
they're
else
not
for.
bums. Like these are
Yeah.
not bums potential. These actually like I kind of expected because I feel like I truly went into this expecting Kyle to like already have a coach in mind, it being Nick Sorensen or somebody else that he was just going to pick no matter what. So let me just interview anybody. But
Mm,
it truly does seem like they're actually interviewing quality players, and that kind of catches me off guard a little bit because, like we said, Chris Tabor is friends with Kyle Shanahan through the previous regime of the Cleveland Browns. You kind of think that he would just take that coach because we all know how he treats his friends, players
mm.
wise, coaches wise, etc. But if he hires one of these guys who's outside of that circle, honestly, props to Kyle Shanahan for doing something actually different and actually approaching it different. And it does seem like we're heading that way. So, but with that being said, like you said, I didn't know that he was friends with Chris Tabor in Cleveland. I now feel like we're going to get that guy. We're going to
Yeah.
get Chris Tabor now, and I'm not excited about that, to be honest with you, just because it's an old face. We already know
Yeah.
who this guy is.
The one guy that I've been seeing, and this depends on what the Cowboys do, which we know they fired Mike McCarthy, but it kind of depends on who their next head coach is and what he does. But the special teams coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, they have been a very good actually, they might have been number one, and then I think Lions maybe were number two. But anyways, at the end of the day, their special teams unit was outstanding. If the Niners can somehow go and poach him up, like they haven't done an interview with him, but man, I hope they do. But also we don't know how long they're trying to wait for this and stuff. So
Uh,
that's my kind of only thing is, um, yeah, like that'd be kind of it'd be interesting. I kind of hope
I
they.
don't is he the thing is I have to do my research on that just to find out a few things about him. Like, is he responsible for bringing Jesse Bates? Is he responsible for that? Because it is if kickoff returns and extra points is a kicker thing. I understand the special teams coordinators tend to get credit for that, but that's more of a kicker thing in my opinion. I guess you could say that the special teams coordinator is responsible for putting in the holder because we had that whole debate about like is the holder holding back Jake Moody? We had that conversation before, and some people thought that was actually a legit argument. So, like, is he? How much was the special teams coordinator involved with the Dallas Cowboys in picking the new kicker and holder? And uh, how good was there? I don't know enough about that special teams coordinator position. I've heard it's good, but I don't know how good is it? Is it like number one in like points of
Yes,
kick
let
returns
me.
allowed or?
I'm not entirely sure, but I mean, I know when I've watched them, like their coverage is pretty good. Like they have Turpin, who's been I think an All-Pro type of returner. I John
True.
Fassel is the guy that I'm talking about. Again, I don't know how long the Niners are trying to wait for this, and that's why I kind of again I don't want to completely talk about it because we'll kind of get to it. Talk about the defensive coordinator
Oh, he's
position, but
considered. He's. I don't know. It's a spoiler here, but like he's considered. People actually want him as a defensive coordinator.
no,
This
he's a
Fassel
special
guy.
teams coordinator,
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. That's what I'm
like
saying.
the
But like
Cowboys guy, John Fassel.
John Fassel. I did have the stats of all the. I don't know where it went, but I did have all the stats of special teams coaches, not coaches, but special teams of everything, like how many points allowed and stuff like that. That's
Yeah.
kind of what I want to know, but I don't have that up anymore. For some reason,
Real
that
quick,
was
Tyler. Yes, I do have a YouTube channel. It is 49er Media. No
we're
space.
media.
Nikita also in the chat. Appreciate you for being in your Terra Dome. What up? Let's see. Dexter Lattimore in the chat. Thanks for tuning on in. Jason Captain Nanner. Hope you have a good show. But thanks for stopping in. And then Anthony Provincial, what up? And the Sport Machine, what up
Um,
as well.
I do have what I have up from lineups.com. They have all the
Mhm.
special team stats down here and stuff.
Okay.
Point returns per game, opponent punt return yards for the Cowboys. Oh, I'm going down. They're at the bottom, 20.1 yards.
Hmm.
Opponent punt return yards. That's a game. Opponent kick return yards. Dallas Cowboys is, yeah, they're down the bottom with 62.2.
Really? Because I maybe
I
it's
will
more of the
show you.
kicking.
I'll Let me send you the. Can I put something in the chat? Is it possible, or is
Yeah,
it
you should
bring it
be
up?
able to, like, if you put it in the private chat. Or yeah, even if you try to share it, I can probably. Okay, hold up. Let me just
Oh,
get
why is it
rid
like
of.
that? That's wild.
Yeah, just give me
Oh,
a
okay,
second.
gotcha.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
there. Yeah.
Um, so you see what I mean here? So there's punt returns. Opponent's punt return. I could be reading this wrong. I thought this was kind of sketchy too. This is 24 to 25 season,
Hmm.
and it shows opponent punt return yards, and they go all the way down to the bottom. It says 20.1 here.
Hmm.
So I thought that was unbelievable too. I was like 20.1 is a
Yeah,
lot of
because then if
yards.
you look at where the Niners are,
The Niners are allowing 15.4, which is pretty bad too.
yeah.
But that's like what? Well, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. They'd be ranked 20th in punt return
Yeah.
yards. And if you go kick return yards, opponents' kick return yards, they're 16.1 for Jacksonville.
Hmm.
But Cowboys is all the way down here at the bottom here.
Hmm.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that'd be about 25th. And they're
It's
allowing
kind of interesting.
62.2.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's the 62.2 part is what's really getting me. That's a lot of yards.
Yeah, okay.
Like
I'm gonna
it
look
says
more
stats per.
into let me look more into this like the next few days. But anyways,
Yeah.
what's
Cause
up,
that.
Michael?
So yeah, when you said the Cowboys, I was like, wait a minute. I think I looked at it earlier. They didn't look very good. I don't think he had a very good year, but from what I see here, yeah. And then I know that they were good on field goals, though. Like their field goal
Yeah.
percentage was, where is it at? It should have been, that's Detroit Lions. Never mind. Cowboys. Did I pass it? Am I tripping?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look more into this. But anyways,
Yeah.
I'm glad they're taking this seriously,
Mhm.
with the special teams. But yeah, let's jump into the defensive coordinator position because I think that's a little more maybe controversial here. So
Yeah.
first off, familiar face, we got Robert Sala. Um, to me, we obviously all know he's a familiar face. We loved what he did here with this defense, right? Top 10 defense, even with the whole pandemic year. Maybe it was even top five, actually. Um, he's done really well. The only year that he didn't do well, which was kind of the first 2 years, but again, the team was so ass during that time that I'm not putting that on him
Yeah.
whatsoever. But to
They're still
me,
in
is
rebuild mode at
I
the time, yeah.
think I think they need a new philosophy. I think they kind of need a change. I am against Robert Sala, and also the reason is I do not want him leaving after like a year or two. I want some continuity to where the guy is gonna stay here for 4 to 5 seasons, and then maybe he ends up leaving.
Okay.
Nothing that I'm not. I just want something a little
It's all
different.
right. It's
Feel
okay.
like so.
Uh, I okay. All right. So I'll say my pace here. That's wild. But I mean that was love. I truly do. That's I do agree. I see what you're saying. I know what you mean by the you want I can't say the word. For some reason that's hard to say, but I know you want that consistency. And I totally understand what you're saying. But like if let's just say that let's say we bring in someone fresh, someone new. If they're as good as Robert Saleh, right,
Mm.
or if they're as good as D'Amico Ryans, they're going to be gone in 2 years anyway. Because so he's going to be open for a head coaching job, right? So
Yeah, and
like
that's my other
you're
thing is because he's already looking at head coaching opportunities. So like if he
so
doesn't take those.
if he does promise us 2 years, I understand that. Like I don't want it to just be a 1 year thing. I totally get what you're saying because then we're kind of back in the same boat again, and then we probably
Exactly.
miss out on these other guys who could be really good that we will talk about in a little bit. But it's kind of like if you take him now, you need a promise from him. And I'm sure they got promises from Robert Saleh and they got Reed Church. I'm sure their interview process wasn't like, hey, what would you do in this scenario? What would you do? I'm sure it wasn't like that. You already know what you're getting, Robert Saleh.
Mhm.
Kyle knows Robert Saleh down to a T. I can't imagine it was anything like that. I just imagine like, hey, Robert Saleh, can you promise? Can you give us a promise that you will, after your interview, let us know as soon as possible? Or how much money do you actually want? How much control do you actually want now that you're not a head coach anymore? I'm
Mhm.
sure there's like those kind of questions happening. But I am, yeah, I gotta say, I love Robert Saleh. I would love to have him back. He would bring that fire back to the players, especially if the players that we had weren't the same,
Mhm.
right? Then I understand that because it's new players. They're not familiar with the philosophy. You're kind of just doing the same thing. I get what you're kind of saying with that. But like Fred Warner's familiar with
Yeah,
them. Nick
Bosa.
Bosa's like you have those players, so he would just fit in. There would be no like like I can't think of the term right now, but like he would just be instantly click.
Reservations, I guess.
Yeah, there would be no concerns. There would be no like he has to get familiar with the scheme or he has to get familiar with the players. He knows the pieces he's working with. He knows the team he's working with, the culture he's working with. So right off the jump, we would immediately have an advantage because from the draft, from free agency, because even Kyle would know what kind of players Robert Saleh would want. So it really would help out a lot, especially there would be less friction like there was with Steve Wilkes. You wouldn't have to worry about that. It's
Mhm.
I love the idea, but I do agree. I want promises of like, okay, 2 years, right? 2 years would be great. 1 year, I just feel like you're just kind of
Yeah,
you're
because
just
then you're
postponing
just
something.
back, and it's like you have to go with your fourth now, like defensive coordinator, and it's just like,
Yeah. I
come
feel like
on,
there would have to
man.
be like a negotiation. Like if a head coaching job opens up for a really good team set up for the future, then I'd understand why you leave after 1 year. But I can't really think of another team that's like you'd want that would be fired soon on top of my head that Robert Saleh would be the candidate for. Because right now, like Robert Saleh is not a highly sought out head coach. Like let's be honest. Right now,
Well,
it's
I
Ben
mean, you
Johnson.
do have that's my other thing too, is you still have the Raiders in Jacksonville, which I don't think I don't get why he'd go to either of those teams. Because first of all, both of those teams need offensive minded coaches.
Yes,
Um, but
Jacksonville. I feel it could be a terrible idea. You're stuck with
yeah,
Trevor Lawrence.
and then just that Raiders team is their defense actually isn't terrible, and again, they need an offensive minded coach. But
they got to get a
like,
quarterback. But
the thing is, if we were to hire him again, it's not like I'm not going to be excited, obviously, because I'd love to have
nah,
Salah
you're
back.
saying that would suck. You think that's trash?
It's just more of like again, the continuity factor is what
Uh,
I'm really saying is kind of why I wouldn't want him. But yeah, moving on to the next one. So they ended up interviewing the Lions passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach Deshaun Townsend for the defensive coordinator spot. You know, they Lions secondary has been pretty damn good. You know, Brian Branch, um, I forget who their corners are all of a sudden, but
they got I'm drawing a blank too, man. I tell you what you're saying.
I
They
know they
have
have Emmanuel
Terran
Mosley and
Arnold, who's a rookie.
Terran. Yeah,
Manuel
he's been
Mosley's
good.
injury prone, constantly gets hurt all the time. I think it's like a depth piece over there. Uh,
Yep,
I know
throwback.
they have another corner. They have a few. They have Amik Robertson. I know we were supposed to sign
Oh
him.
yeah,
They have
yep.
him over there. He's doing really good. Carlton Davis, thank you. On the
Thank you.
podcast, yeah, Carlton Davis. So that they have injury prone corners over there, but they're making it work, and that's that. Yeah. So, but sorry,
Yeah,
continue. I just thought I'd
so
help you out.
I mean that'd be an interesting one. He's not my top candidate, that's for sure. But I wouldn't, you know,
Oh,
Again, I want them to do an extensive search, and I'm glad they are doing that. In fact, let's see who else are the other candidates. I
I
think
do.
forget
I
if they interviewed anyone else.
I like this guy. I actually like this guy a lot. I think that what he did with
Mm,
constant pieces being like a carousel of like, okay, this guy's hurt, bring this
yeah,
guy in, this
that's
guy's hurt, this
true.
guy's bring him. He's a DB's coach. He has to make sure that these corners are ready at all points, and they were. They're phenomenal, like you said, Brian Branch, and their
Mhm.
secondary is phenomenal despite those injuries, despite those pieces constantly coming in and out. And I do like the fact that that passing game defense. I know they didn't do very good at some points, allowed like 40+ points or here and there and stuff like that, but he was dealing with nothing. But for the most part, they're
Yeah.
productive. You know, they shut down Justin Jefferson for the most part. It wasn't just, I don't understand that Sam Darnold was missing pieces here and there, but for
Mhm.
what they were doing for the most part, their corners were in the right place and the right
Yeah.
spot. And that is contributed to the passing game coordinator and DB's coach. So props to, I like him a lot. He's my favorite, honestly, outside of Robert Saleh. He's my favorite candidate so far. And if we hired him, I would love it. I would be all for it.
I think Kenny, you mean Jameer Gibbs. Yeah, that's not happening. But another name I've heard out there now, they haven't interviewed this guy, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because Nick Wagner of
Brandon Staley.
ESPN, who's very connected with the Niners, saying that, okay, Robert Saleh are considered top candidates. Now, Jeff Ulbrich kind of seems like someone they have interest in, but they haven't interviewed him. And kind of what I was saying with, oh, if the Niners were trying to go get an actual special teams coach, it would be a lateral move. And that's the thing is you kind of have to see who the Jets are getting as their head coach. Because if that
Mhm.
head coach lets go of Elbrick, you know,
Your
then the
Ulbrich guy?
Niners could bring him back. Now, I actually wouldn't mind Jeff Ulbrich,
Okay.
um, but there's one name that I am going to bring up. And again, the reason I am reporting
Stoked.
this and talking about this is because Nick Wagner reported this. But he says Robert Saul and Jeff Ulbrich are considered top candidates for the defensive coordinator position. But another name worth keeping a close eye on is former New Orleans Saints coach Dennis Allen. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
I get it. He was
No,
not a
no,
good head.
you go for it, man. Go for
Okay,
it.
I get it. He was not a good head coach. And we'll get to this next guy, which I know a lot of people don't want. I'm interested to see what Wolfie's reactions for the next guy. But um to me, this guy, again, because he has the head coaching experience, I believe he's also worked with special teams prior in his prior. And the thing is, I think he'd be a guy that stays here for 4 to 5 years. I really think so. I think he is the guy that would
Okay.
most likely stay here for a longer period of time. Um, I think that honestly, the Saints defense has always been underrated. Um,
True.
but I don't think he's that bad. Um, yeah, let me just pull up real quick though his kind of
Are you talking about Dennis Allen right
history
now?
here.
Or are
Okay,
you talking about the
so
defensive coordinator?
yeah, so he was a defensive coordinator for the Saints from 2016 to 2021. And then because he was, I guess, doing well, then he became the head coach for the last 3 seasons. Um, and he's actually been a head coach in the past two with the Raiders. That didn't go so well.
No.
I mean, he has
But this is for
like
DC. This is not for head coach.
yes,
So
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, he'd be for defensive coordinator. And the thing is, he's been an assistant defensive line coach in the past, quality controls coach, defensive assistant coach, secondary coach. So he's worked all over kind of the defensive positions because I think that's
Mm.
one thing where we're like, if we hire a secondary coach, which we kind of did with Nick Sorensen, was like, it didn't work great. And I hope also they don't bring Nick Sorensen back at all. I know they are considering for special teams, but please
Well, whatever
no.
job, whatever, I don't mean to cut you off, but as for the Nick
Yeah.
Sorensen thing, whatever job he was doing last year, not this year, but whatever job he
Mhm.
was doing last year, because we went to the Super Bowl just fine. Defense was relatively fine. Whatever, I don't know what he was doing before, But whatever he was doing for that year, he could do that because
Yeah.
it wasn't bad, right?
Yeah.
He went to the Super
Yeah.
Bowl. So I understand that we want him off because of the bad juju and what he
Mhm.
fucking did. I understand what you're coming from. But
Yeah.
like, he
Yeah.
did
No, I
something,
know.
whatever he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
that's,
but I do not want him as special teams coordinator. But
I
honestly,
agree.
this is why I think Dennis Allen needs to have a strong argument, and I hope they interview this guy. And this, if I am looking at the guys that we interviewed
Better
right
table,
now,
man.
and they may be interviewing more guys. Actually, let's get to it afterwards, because yeah, let me hear your thoughts about Dennis Allen. I want to know why
Okay.
you're against it, and then we'll talk about good old Brandon Staley.
Okay. Dennis Allen. Okay. I understand he had a good defense with the Saints, but the Saints had amazing pieces for what he was working with that defense. Yes, he deserves some credit for that situation, but he doesn't give off rallying behind defensive coordinator vibe. He doesn't give off like, hey, I'm the defensive coordinator. We're calling this play. Let's do it. Let's rally. Let's go. He looks like the kind of guy who would just be up in the booth and during practice and stuff like that, just be like, okay, here's my play. I think we should run this play here.
He
And
does
like it
look
might
like
be a good one,
Spagnolo a little bit, though.
but I don't feel but Spagnuolo is like, let's go, let's do it. Let's do it. Like he's
No,
into it. While Dennis Allen just doesn't feel I don't feel like players route. You are right, as in like he would not leave for a head coaching job. I'll give you that. That like that's a thing that wouldn't happen because obviously he's not a good head
or
coach.
there's
Once
I
you do
think
it
a higher
twice,
chance.
well, like once you do it twice and it doesn't work out, you're kind of done. Like everyone knows that you're just
Yeah.
not a good head coach, and whatever you're doing prior was your profession, and that's exactly what you should be sticking to. But okay, I wouldn't be against it entirely against Dennis Allen, but I would only be against it. I would not be against it only if Robert Saleh passes on it, Jeff Ulbrich, even who I'm not even a big fan on, to be honest with you. Um, if the passing game coordinator for the Lions passes up on it, heck, even I would take Brandon Staley. I would take Brandon Staley.
Okay.
Yes, I would
Okay.
take Brandon Staley over Dennis Allen. I think Dennis Allen is just I understand there's this stigma towards Brandon Staley. I get it, but he was a good defensive coordinator in 2020. And I think he was dealing with a lot more how do I put this? A lot more, I don't hate using this term, but like alpha, like these like dominant players, and he knows how to handle them. While Dennis Allen does not seem like that type of person, and he doesn't give off 49ers defensive coordinator. And I'm so that's like my least favorite candidate when I heard about that. And that's why when you told me, I was like, oh wow.
Hey, dang, I am glad we're on the same page here. Thank you for someone at least being on the same page.
But he said rather than Saleh.
Yeah, no, I know.
But he said rather.
I kind of. The thing is, I also want some new blood, something different. Okay, next guy, Brandon Staley, the inside the organization head, candidate. Now, my thing is, yes, he's had experience, right? The Rams defense. I think that was the year they won the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
I think so. Was he there in 21? I think so. Yeah, that's how he got his coaching jobs because he won in 2020, and then they hired him as defensive coordinator because he was good at his job.
So I
think he lost. No, did he lose to the Patriots that year? I don't know. I just know he was a defensive coordinator in 2020. I don't remember.
And my thing is the secondary. Like, we did not turn the ball, get turnovers.
Yeah, turnovers
only
is a
had
problem.
2 turnovers after the bye week. Okay, so looking at Brandon Staley's career, 2017 to 2019 was the outside linebackers coach, then was a defensive coordinator in 2020. Okay, that's where it was. And then head coach for the last 3 seasons. Now, as a head coach, 9-8 in 2021, 10-7 in 2022, 5-9 in 2023. So that was bad.
Not much winning happening there, yeah.
And then he was an assistant with the Niners. Now, my thing is, and this is kind of why I was going with Dennis Allen too, is sometimes, and I'm not saying I want Staley either, but my thing is sometimes it's just simple. Coaches are better as position coaches and they suck as head coaches. True. Sometimes it's just simple as that. That again, they're better at the position groups, coaching up those, position groups, or being a DC or being an offensive coordinator. Because yes, they have pressure, but they're not having to worry about, oh, as the head coach, oh, my DC's not doing the right thing, or this is the personnel that needs to be out there. And I think that's kind of like why people don't like Kyle Shanahan a lot too, is because they feel like he's doing too much at times, right?
Yeah, a
And
lot
that's
on his plate.
affecting.
He puts a lot on his
Yeah,
plate. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so I think, again, I wouldn't want Brandon Staley, but if like this is the worst case scenario, is if they struck out on everyone else and they don't go and interview anybody else,
Okay.
then okay, they're fine with going with him. But I
Would
think,
you be open minded? Would you be open minded to Brandon Staley though? Would you be like? I'm not saying like optimistic. That's like I put it
yeah,
this way: open minded. Optimistic
I'd
seems like
be
a strong
open
word, but
minded, but yeah, no, I wouldn't be super optimistic. Okay, so now if I'm
yeah.
ranking the coaches I'd want, I'd probably go Dennis Allen. I would go Robert Sala actually.
Okay.
Then I'd go Jeff Ulbrich. Then probably go Brandon Staley, and then the Lions.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's okay. Okay, you're not a
But
fan of
it's super close to
Deshaun
like between
Townsend.
those. Yeah, it's super close between
Okay.
Townsend, I think, and
Look. Okay, so let me try to make another argument here. Okay,
okay.
Dennis Allen. Okay, I know we have to get out of here soon, but Dennis Allen. Look, he's just got out of a head coaching job, right?
Hmm.
And he hasn't exactly this. There, the it's been a long time since he's just focused on being a defensive coordinator. He hasn't actually had the time to stop and look at these new schemes because back in 2016 to 2020 or whatever it was, Kyle Shanahan's offense was the most dominant. Now it's no longer the case. Now it's like he's figured out they know the scheme, and now the new defense is the Lions
Hmm.
offense, which is the most dominant now. So it's changed. I feel like the defense if scheme and the offensive schemes have changed and more evolved to a different kind of set of rules now. And if this was in 2016 or whatever, like Kyle Shanahan's offense was so dominant, I would go with that. But with Dennis Allen, he just came out of a head coaching job, doing what he's doing. I think that if he had another year, kind of like what Brandon Staley did as an assistant, to kind of see what everyone else is doing, really had a time to step back and look at everything and then be able to adjust his defense, I would see the argument there. But he just came off a head coaching job where he didn't do very well, especially on defense. And like he doesn't have the chance, like I said, to step back and kind of look at everything. As for Brandon Staley, he kind of had the opportunity to just step back, look at everything, see the flaws in Kyle Shanahan's scheme, and see the flaws in Nick Sorensen's scheme, and kind of help develop his own thing. Even though I do feel like, and I have no proof of this, and this is why I'm skeptical about Brandon Staley, is because I feel like he helped with the defense. I feel like he behind the scenes, because I do remember him saying, Kyle said that he helps with nickel, right?
Yeah, and he's helping with those like ball meetings, which like emphasize getting turnovers and stuff
And we got
too.
none of
So,
that.
and we got
So
2 turnovers after the week 9 bye.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. So I'm a little.
yeah,
That's what's making me a little skeptical about that. But that's also with Dennis Allen. I feel like Dennis Allen would be no different than Brandon Staley, but Brandon Staley's had the opportunity to kind of step back and look at everything and fix his shit. While Dennis Allen, like I said, just got fired. That's my case there. And if I will tell you this, I am shocked that you think that you have Dennis Allen as your top. I am shocked by that. I'm not gonna lie to you. Uh,
okay,
so
give us your ranking
my
from
ranking,
top to bottom.
110% goes Robert Sala. Okay. Again,
Okay.
like I said, with these players familiar with his scheme, he would fit right in. He'd be familiar with everything. He knew exactly where there would be no problems in the draft and free agency. They know where it's at. The only problem that comes with it is that he could leave next year or the year after that because another head coaching job that he wants comes open. That could happen. So,
Mm.
but as a defensive coordinator standpoint, as a successful standpoint, as someone I know that will do good in this defense, especially since we don't have to change the playbook too much with wide nine. I don't know why people are giving wide nine a fucking problem. So I don't mean to curse here, but like I don't know why people are giving wide nine such an issue when it's successful with Robert Sala with the Jets, successful with DeMeco Ryans for the Texans, but yet somehow it's it's no longer the same because Nick Sorensen was our defensive coordinator. So was it?
Well, I think the issue is like it stopping the run has been so bad, and I get it. You had Sorensen, and then before that, you had what's his name, Steve Wilkes, right?
Yeah,
And I think what I've been saying is I don't mind. Okay, let me actually rephrase this. I I want them to go away from the wide nine, but not completely. Like if they're using sparks of it and at certain situations, I think that's the thing is where they need to use kind of like a multiple
oh, hybrid.
defense. Yeah, a
Yeah,
hybrid because then that also tricks other teams and they're kind of like, oh no, what are they gonna do? Because
this is
I
not a wide
think
nine. What's going on? Yeah,
that's the issue is where I think also teams are catching up and everybody knows, okay, I just need to go to the outside when I'm running the football. And then they're like, I'm able to just basically, pass the football. Like, that's my thing too, is I think it's also a talent personnel issue, though. Is
that's
if
what I
you
was
look
gonna
at the
say. Yeah,
Rams last night, man, just look how dominant they are. Like I know it's harder, obviously, but man, the Niners need to go in and infuse some youth on that defensive line. I don't
yeah.
mind Leonard Floyd and Yuta Gross-Matos as like
Leonard
rotational
Floyd can go.
pieces, and I
Like,
I
he
think
doesn't
that
work in a wide nine.
I think he looked better as the season went on, and I think he will. Both of those guys will look better, next
Gross
season.
Matos I
But
liked, but
I think, yeah, that's another issue is the Niners didn't have a deep enough defensive line. And I get it. Maybe that's just what it's going to be because now you got to pay Brock Purdy, right? And so maybe that's just what we're going to have to live with. But that's my thing is, again, I don't
my
mind if they use the wide nine in some ways, but I think they need to go to more of a multiple defense kind of thing to evolve the defense.
So let me try to make an argument for that. I
Mm,
know what you're saying about like Brock Purdy's gonna get paid, so the contract's gonna be it's gonna affect some things. Jimmy G was paid as the highest quarterback
mm,
at the time and
yeah,
affected the cap highly, took away a lot of the cap at the time, probably
yeah.
as much as what Brock Purdy would take at this time. And we had the weapons, we had the personnel, we had everything we need because the 49ers and John Lynch put together a great team. So what
Mhm.
makes I don't mean like what you makes this is the universal what makes you think. What makes you think that they can't just do this again when they just had an excellent draft and all they have to do is kind of just approach the same thing with the D line and if Robert, I'm not trying to make the escape, but like Robert Sala came in, he would know what kind of pieces he needs to make that wide nine work among based on anyway. He has the most experience with it and he knows what he needs. And Kyle would listen to him more so than Nick Sorensen or any other defensive head coach that comes in. Like I know Kyle would be like, well, Nick Sorensen, like I'm drafting this guy. I don't care what you think. Like I'm doing this. Okay.
Mhm.
While Robert Sala, I feel like, okay, I need this D line to make this work. Can you make this happen? And Kyle will be like, okay,
Yeah.
you actually truly would consider it. So I think that the cap, yeah, but Jimmy G affected the cap just as much, and we did just fine. We
But
had
I
one of the
also
best
think
defenses in the league.
you're gonna have to pay other players too this offseason, not just Brock, Kittle, use check kind of extension, which
Possibly have to extend Kittle, yeah.
I'm just saying I think they're in a more difficult situation now than they were. But you're right, restructures and stuff that obviously, and then if they even extend Kittle and some of these other guys, that will also clear cap space. So
Yeah, but
they're
how much
definitely
more is
they
Kittle
can
gonna
definitely do it.
want though? Sorry to
Yeah.
make us off. Like, because Kittle, I understand Kittle's be
Well,
32,
the
31
the
years
thing with
old. Is he gonna
Kittle
ask
is
for a raise?
the thing with Kittle is you have to think of it as look at what Trent Williams, look at CMC. Both of those contracts were non-guaranteed, and that is exactly also why players like them wanted to get paid is they thought they deserved a raise and they're like, okay, I want to be here and my contract's non-guaranteed. So it's like if I get hurt, then I'm screwed. And that's what I think where I see Kittle coming from and like a guy like Kyle Juszczyk, even though I know there's people out there saying
Kyle's gonna
we
go.
don't
I think
need
Cusick's
we don't need
gone
Juszczyk, but we'll see. But yeah,
because
um
they already had Kyle Juszczyk take a pay cut already. So I can't
yeah,
imagine them being like, "Well, let's
yeah.
give you more money." You know what I mean? But I think that like you're all right. Kittle might ask for extension, but how many other players are left that are ready for an extension like that? You know, like Kittle right now is 30-something years old. I can't imagine him asking for more money. That would be kind of for an older player. Ask maybe like what
I
he's getting paid
mean,
now
he's
continuingly,
coming
but
off
with the
such a
guaranteed
good
money.
year, though.
I know, but how much more money are you going to get at some point he's going to come back to earth. Like I don't. Some people
Hey,
call
I
me
mean,
the
look
Kittle
at
hater.
Trent Williams, bro. He's
True. But some people call me the Kittle hater, and I
what
don't
up,
mean to be called the
Strawberry?
Kittle hater, but I'm trying to think to myself, like, how much more are you going to pay a position that doesn't get paid a lot already, right? Like tight ends don't get paid nearly as much as wide receivers or even
Yeah.
tackles, right? They get paid like under 20 million, I think, or something. So I can't imagine it being that big of a deal in that sense, especially since we don't have
Well,
any
no,
tight
it
ends
would
in the
just
backfield that's
they'd just
getting a lot
have
of
to
money.
they would just have to restructure a little bit more and add more,
Void
I
years to
guess,
the situation.
yeah, and like I
Yeah.
guess it'd just be like the Trent Williams deal, kind of. That's why I brought his name up. Um, but yeah, that is where I see the defensive coordinator. I get it. Maybe people are gonna be like, really, 49er yet? You want
Let me give you my
Allen
list
is?
real quick. If I can,
Yeah,
can I
go
finish
ahead.
that? All
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
just real
Sorry
quick,
about
so I know
that.
it's going to hurry up, but no, you're fine. Robert Sala, right?
Okay.
I love this. I seriously do. I love this Lions guy. I want this Lions guy. It's my
Hmm.
second dude there. I know it's fresh blood, but he knows what he's doing. It looks like he knows what he's doing. He knows how to, like I said, work with broken pieces and
Yeah.
players coming in and out. Like Sorensen, that was kind of Sorensen's problem. We had a lot of injuries. Didn't know how to. I don't know if it's because we didn't have the pieces, or is it because Sorensen does not know how to use those pieces that had
Yeah, it was
flaws.
just like the
This
lack of, I think, pieces and just how to kind of adjust to maybe the pros for
and this
the most part.
and I feel like he could do it. My third one would be Brandon Staley at that point, because I don't believe in Jeff Ulbrich. I do not believe in Dennis Allen. Jeff
Wow.
Jeff Ulbrich was terrible with the Jets. He was
Well,
terrible with the Jets.
I
When he took
think
over for the Jets, he was terrible.
yeah, but I think okay, let's bring up that real quick. I
Okay.
think because he was the head coach, that was the reason. I think if you put him back as the defensive coordinator, because if you look, they were really good defense before he became the head coach, and he only had to worry about the defense. And then right when he became the interim head coach, it's like, oh shoot, the offense and
Well,
that Jets team was just a whole mess, man. I'm not gonna.
he had them
Take,
practicing tackles, like basic, like pee-wee. I forgot how it was, like spraying water on them while they're trying to tackle people or something. He did some weird shit there. Jeff Ulbrich did. Look,
I did
I
not
just
know.
don't think he did with it. Like the players weren't even rallying behind Jeff Ulbrich. Like it didn't seem like they actually got his back. They were so upset with Robert Sala being fired. You could tell that Robert Sala was. It's kind of with Kyle. Kyle's the offensive coordinator, but you're not going to think Clay Kubiak is going to be, if he took over and he was a terrible head coach, you think he's going to be an offensive genius. I don't think it's the same way. I think Robert Sala calls these defensive plays while Jeff Ulbrich is just there learning. It's kind of like what Brandon Staley's doing with Kyle
Mhm.
Shanahan behind him. We don't know
Yeah.
if he's going to be good or not, but we do know that he was somewhat a good DC at some point. Ulbrich, the only thing I've seen from him is he's never been a defensive coordinator before. So
Yes,
he
he
doesn't
has.
have, I don't think he has he?
He literally was the defensive coordinator for the last few years while
That,
solid.
for the Jets, that does not count because it's like
Yes,
he
it
was.
does, because that
No,
Jets defense
Robert
was good,
Sala was
bro.
the defensive coordinator for the Jets, brother.
Wait, hold up. Let me see this.
Robert Sala was in control of that
Wait,
entire
hold up. Let me
that
see.
defense.
Hold up.
I'm pretty sure he's never had a defensive coordinator outside of the Jets.
Let me
I'm pretty sure. I
see.
could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Let me see on this website that I'm looking at. Okay. So looking at Elbrick, he was defensive coordinator in 2024, defensive coordinator basically from 2021 to 2024 until he became the interim head coach.
All right.
And
So
then
I don't
before
think
that, he was a assistant head coach with the Falcons, linebackers coach, special teams assistant coach.
special teams, maybe.
Wait,
That's us.
but
I
what
okay.
I'm saying is,
Strawberry
bro,
agrees with you though. Strawberry agrees with you. There seems like a lot of people agree with you, but I understand I'm in the minority when it comes to that. But I just do not believe in Jeff Ulbrich. He's my fourth guy for sure. And then Dennis Allen, as you
I
mentioned,
am just
last guy.
shocked that you have the Lions guy that high up, and I get it that secondaries looked good, but I am just
Fresh
shocked.
blood, man. Just like you said, we need to not make lateral moves here. We need to make fresh blood. If it's not Robert Saleh, who's familiar with
Dennis
everything,
Allen,
knows the
baby.
pieces, it's next one. Dennis Allen over Robert Saleh is wild to me, brother. But hey,
I
you like him,
told
you
you.
believe in him. Hey, if we get him and it happens and he's dominant, he's the best, guess what? You could say I fucking told you so, brother. You could do it, dude, for sure. But I do not. I think that. So that's my list. I got Robert Saleh, Deshae Townsend, Brandon Staley, Ulbrich, and Dennis Allen. That's who I got.
Wow. Man, the
I think
Dennis Allen
we're like
haters are out
backwards
here
almost.
tonight.
We're backwards. Yeah, I
Damn, the
think you're.
Dennis Allen haters are out here tonight.
Hey, you and I are. You got Dennis Allen as your number one option, and you're getting hate for that. I'm getting hate for not
Thank you,
believing in Jeff Ulbrich.
dang. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, yeah, by the way, if you guys are over on Wolfie's channel, make sure to go like and subscribe to my channel. And if you're on my channel, go check out Wolfie. His links are down in the description as well. So, but I think, you know, we've been talking for a while, so maybe in the next week we'll actually get more into the Brock Purdy situation. So I think
maybe he'll sign a contract, then it'll be a lot longer conversation about that, you know, for real.
Maybe. But yeah, I think it was fun to see some disagreement, that's for sure.
Of course.
You know,
great show.
It was awesome. But yeah, man. Let everyone kind of know where they can find you.
You can find me on the YouTube tube, yo. All right. I am The Wolfie Show, at The Wolfie Show. You call me Wolfie. Oh, woo! That's who I am. If you want to come find me, I'm sure, I don't know if it's in the link or not, but come check it out. You know, it's like I always say in all my videos, it's all about having a great conversation. I'm not always right about everything, and it's just all about learning and having a great time, man. Just that's what it's all about, you know. Just agreements, disagreements, opinions. Everyone's allowed to it. You know?
Yes, sir. But alrighty, guys. Thank you all for tuning on in. Appreciate the support. I think this was awesome. So yeah, we are planning to do this every week, for now at least. So
yeah, man, every week, every Tuesday.
Show to my plate, which is kind of nice. So glad that you're willing to do this.
Yeah, man. The last time we talked, it was great. A great conversation. Every time you're in the chat, we have a great conversation. So why not, man?
Sure.
You know, and it does seem like you're getting a lot serious with your content. You're really pursuing this. So I wish you nothing but the best, man. And I'm happy to be here to help support you for sure.
Yeah, so. Wish you the best as well. But again, everybody, thank you all for tuning on in. Let's go Niners.
Bang, bang.